Hello. Wow, really?
Hello, Julian.
Hi, how are you?
What's his name? Nice camera.
Taking good video? Very good.
We have to take care of Thanks.
Welcome.
Someone say why?
In with the camera. How much you I'm gonna be in the league next week. I don't know what team. What do you mean? What? No, I'm not saying anything. Just sitting there. Yeah, you think so? I don't know. That's right. Speaking for much. We're in front of Wait. What are you trying to do?
Get in the deal, and everybody's like,
Back here, wait a minute.
change the past, but we can learn its lessons and thus assure a better future for ourselves and humanity. That is why we have gathered here this evening, and now I would like to introduce Sharon Portman, who chairs our Community Relations Council, who will introduce some others here. Sharon.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. This is a very special evening for the entire Jewish community. First of all, we have our Mayor of Ocean Township, Terry Weldman, with us. We have our Congressman, Frank Pallone, who will always be our congressman no matter where they come from. And we have our esteemed governor, Governor Florio, who certainly has proven to be a wonderful friend to the Jewish community. This has been a busy day also for the Jewish community. We've just come from a meeting at the Berkeley Carteret where we discussed the very real possibility of finally providing a facility for our senior population in Monmouth County. We are talking about a dream that is about to be realized, and the reason that that dream is about to become a reality is because of the strong commitment and cohesiveness of the entire Jewish community. And the Jewish Federation this is going to be its finest hour. So we're very pleased and proud to tell you that we are about to begin taking care of our senior population, hopefully with the help of everyone seated in this room. Pallone and Governor Florio. And I'm going to be very brief because, as you know, they are both great friends of the entire Jewish community. First, I'd like to call Congressman Frank Pallone, who has spoken to you many times, and who has, one of the first things that he did when he was elected to office was take a trip to Israel so that he could see firsthand the issues that concerned us. He has certainly been responsive whenever we've called him, whenever we've had concerns, and now it's my pleasure to present Congressman Frank Pallone.
Thank you very much, and I will be brief because I came here tonight also to listen to Governor Florio. I just wanted to say that these are tough times in Washington, in my opinion, for some of the causes that are dear to all of you in this room. I suppose you know that our success with obtaining loan guarantees for Israel has not been very good. Unfortunately, that seems to have been delayed. It's not clear what the future is. One good thing that did happen, though, this week was that we were successful in passing a concurrent resolution to continue the foreign aid appropriations bill. You probably know that it's been very difficult in Washington over the last year or so to get any kind of foreign aid appropriations bill passed. Not necessarily because there's lack of support for the state of Israel and the aid that goes to Israel, but just in general because America is becoming increasingly isolationist, and people are seeing our country that way. And so when votes come up on the floor for appropriations for foreign aid, whether it be for any country, but in this case, one that includes Israel, we've had a very difficult time getting any kind of resolution passed. We're operating now on what we call a concurrent resolution, which basically is a continuing resolution rather than a regular one-year appropriation. And we were successful in getting that passed last year in Congress, so hopefully we'll be beginning to see some turnaround in events and some more support for foreign aid and the recognition that the United States is not alone and that the U.S. has to constantly relate to other countries in the world, and that our relations with other countries and how we deal with them economically and defensively is very important to this country and to the future of this country. I wanted to say today primarily that I continue to be concerned about the plight of Jews in Syria. Some of you know that I'm part of the Congressional Caucus on Syrian Jews, and also that I've been involved, in fact, authored a letter that we sent to President Assad about, I think we had about 65 co-sponsors essentially, where we were trying to plead over and over again to turn around and try to allow emigration from Syria. Obviously that has not occurred. Obviously Jewish community. I mean, we've seen the basic breakdown of the Soviet Union and the situation where so many Jews are now allowed to emigrate to Israel. We saw the airlift of Jews in Ethiopia. So amazing things have happened in a short period of time. And I'm confident that with your continued support and what we can do in Congress, and hopefully pressure also the President and the State Department, that we will see the day eventually, hopefully sooner than later, when we see a situation where Jews can emigrate from Syria. We have to continue the battle. I pledge to do that, and I pledge also to continue to support the State of Israel, whether it be the loan guarantees or the foreign aid that's necessary to keep it strong and to keep it as an ally in the United States. Thanks again.
Thank you, Frank. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our main speaker this evening, Governor Jim Florio. The governor has been a very visible force for the Jewish community. He meets regularly with the state association. In fact, I just told him I have more pictures of him in my house from various functions I've gone to than most of my family members. He re-energized the New Jersey Israel Commission, which is a commission that's designed to do business between New Jersey and the state of Israel, in which my husband is a member. So I know it's a functioning working committee. He supported legislation that would make acts of bias criminal and toured Israel, of course, and is looking forward, I think, he said, to going again, possibly this time with his wife. He encouraged and really secured additional funding for refugee resettlement in this state and has visited with refugees in the former Soviet Union. And because of him, we have additional job training and money for Soviet refugees in the state of New Jersey. And he certainly favors a Holocaust curriculum, which is being worked on right now, and provided permanence for the Holocaust Council. He's been a wonderful friend, as I said, to all of us, and I urge you to welcome him warmly. Governor.
Congressman Malone, to the mayor, distinguished public officials, and ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls. I am very pleased to be here with all of you. There's a very nice, warm, Hamasha feeling. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. Lucinda and I were very pleased to get the invitation because this is a very significant event for the congregation especially. And I am pleased to be associated with it. You know, 500 years is a remarkable anniversary for anything. This one, of course, that we're celebrating this year, holds great meaning for all Jews. But the Sephardim particularly are important, and this is the significance of this time. These, of course, are people who contributed so much to Jewish and Spanish culture. Sefarad 92 represents not only survival, but triumph as well. It represents the beauty of a very rich tradition and the strength of an enduring faith. And I say here in the congregation tonight, I can see that wonderful tradition as well as the enduring strength. It's especially fitting that the 500th anniversary of the expulsion of the Sephardic Jews from Spain, in a sense, has us all here at the final ceremony, I'm told, in this building. I think it's significant symbolically because, like all the endeavors of the Sephardim, this departure will blossom into a new and an even stronger beginning in the life of the Jewish community, especially here in Monmouth County. Soon, I'm told, you'll be moving in to a beautiful new temple right across the street where all of your children and your families will grow and will prosper. And we hope that the entire community 100-year period as it impacts upon the community. It started, unfortunately, with probably one of the most destructive and cruel episodes in world history, the Inquisition. The Inquisition represents the most frightening kind of evil. Evil that is calculated and efficient. Evil that has the blessing of governmental authority. The worst form. It, of course, foreshadowed the great evil of the Holocaust. And that same evil continues to live on today. The congressman made reference to the ongoing and malicious persecution of Jews in Syria. I just spoke to a few people earlier as we were walking around and just observed that Syrian Jews are the last large Jewish hostage population. And the tragedy is that not too many people know about it. There's a need to lift the level of public opinion to this problem so that the appropriate focus of international attention can be paid to it so that the court of public opinion of the world, at least in those circles of decency that do exist, can start to be mobilized. Syrian Jews are in extreme danger, and they must be permitted to leave Syria without restrictions as early as possible. With the efforts of people like your congressman, the hope is that the State Department will finally be mobilized to be able to exercise the leverage that it's capable of exercising when it sees fit to do so. One of my personal literary heroes, Elie Wiesel, said when he received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1986, he told us that we should take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, not the tormented. That, if we think about it, is a lesson for all of us. There is a moral obligation that we have. Be aware, to act, and to mobilize people to oppose moral abominations, such as persecution of a people, as we see currently in Syria. So whoever we are, wherever we are, whatever our station in life is, we must take sides in the face of evil. It is absolutely essential for us to do that as God's creatures. That's why, in some respects, we have worked very hard in this last 2-year period to combat what we see is, unfortunately, a growing trend of bias crimes that are being perpetrated against people. Asian people, black people, Jewish people. We see this happening, and it's a source of great concern to, I think, all decent people. Because it is not a sign of a decent civilization that people burn crosses on other people's lawns, or that they desecrate ceremonies, cemeteries, or synagogues. We should never allow prejudice to be manifested in hostility to others. I was pleased last year to sign into law the strongest hate crime law in the nation, one that was sponsored by Senator Matthew Feldman of the Bergen County area. We signed that, and we have since established a bias crime unit that unfortunately has much to do. I'm from Camden County, and just within this last few weeks, we had a rash of desecration of synagogues and homes as a result of anti-Semitic activities. You may have seen in the newspapers just within the last 2 months act of some individual or group going systematically to many of the libraries in Bergen County and placing in the libraries Nazi literature, placing it, in many instances, in books about the Jewish people. I think we have some sense of why there is this proliferation of bigotry on us at this particular time in our history. We know that traditionally, it's an unfortunate fact of life, but when the economy turns bad, when people feel threatened or insecure, they tend to be much more receptive in the listening to the messages of demagogues or bigots, and give the opportunity for those people to sow the hatred that they unfortunately seem to be born with. That's when the David Dukes come out from underneath their rocks in times of economic difficulty. But it seems to me that that's all the more reason at all times, but particularly in these times, that we stand together and say aloud all the time, never again. That's why these are the times when we must especially join hands and fight together to achieve tolerance, harmony, and peace between people. I'm very proud to be here tonight to share with you the pleasure of the occasion as we get ready to move to a new synagogue. And to share with you in the history and many of the victories that you as a people have been involved with, making sure that good always triumphs over evil, ultimately. From the Inquisition to the Holocaust to the persecution of Syrian Jews has come some bitter lessons. Elie Wiesel again warns so eloquently against the fact of standing silent. And he also talks about the triumph of the human spirit, working from the assumption that we all believe in, that the essence of the human spirit is good, and tolerant, and kind, and does seek after peace and harmony. So let us remember that, and let us celebrate that. And I'm very pleased to be here to sign an official proclamation from the state of New Jersey that I would like to present to your rabbi, which proclaims 1992 as Sefarad 92. Congratulations and shalom.
Proclamation along with Rabbi Labaton from the governor, Arnie Gelfman, the president of the Jewish Federation, Florio, who has been to Washington to lobby on behalf of Syrian. Nathan Zalta, who spent 15 long hours on the phone on Super Sundays. And Jeffrey Asher, who has been in charge of 480,000 pennies commemorating the 1.5
Be able to present to you this proclamation as a mark of the respect and the esteem of all 7.5 million people in the state of New Jersey.
Thank you.
honored to have the man with us who Syria. He was married and lived there with his wife and children. In December of 1983, his pregnant wife and two children, ages 6 and 3, were brutally murdered by people in the Syrian government officials. Victor is here to talk to us a little bit about what had happened to him. He feels that it is important. He cannot stay in the shadows. He cannot stay hiding. It is important for the world to know what goes on in Syria today. What happened to him is only several years ago, and we still have 4,000 brothers and sisters left in Syria, as the governor said, the last of the large hostage communities in the world. Victor, would you please come forward?
Governor Florio, Congressman Maloney, Rabbi, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe I'm not good speaker like the governor, but I want to open my heart to speak to you. In Syria, if you are Jewish, only you can open to your mouth and dentist. But here you can open it to tell the truth. You don't afraid to have anything from. Nobody can hurt you just because you're Jewish. You know. Only they hurt you if you are, or they put you in prison if you are a criminal. My tragedy is happened in Syria, in Aleppo, Syria, and not in Treblinka or Krakow in Poland. It happened in my house and not in the Nazi camp. In 28 December 1983, I came back home to see my wife, my children, stabbed to death, and after each one they shoot him 2 or 3 bullets in the head to be sure that they died. At the same time, Jesse Jackson came to Syria to liberate an African-American pilot captured in Syria. It's a good thing. But I want to tell to Mr. Jackson today, I'm not in the politics, but I know he's running to be a vice president. If really he wants to help, he can help us to free them 4,000 prisoners, Jewish prisoners in Syria. If really believe in the Rainbow Coalition, I believe if he can do it, he will have most of the Jewish vote here, But I don't believe he can help even one Syrian Jewish, to let him out from Syria. Because I live there, I know the people, I know the governor, I know how they hate the Syrian Jew. From the first grade, we open the book and we cannot, the teacher, even he's Jewish, he cannot escape this sentence. The Jewish are the enemy of the Arab. From the first grade. So the hate grew up with the people there in Syria from the first grade. They teach them that to hate the Jewish. They don't tell them that this is Jewish, they are Syrian Jewish. There's nothing to do with Israel. You want to go fight Israel, go and fight Israel. But this is Jewish. They are, they have nothing to do. I burn, I opened my eyes and I saw my father, my mother is Jewish, so I'm Jewish. That's it. I didn't do any crime, to be, being Jewish. After what happened to me, I want to tell you my story. After what happened to me, I there for 6 months, I didn't have any reason to stay alive, but after, thanks to the friend and the people in Syria, and especially the chief rabbi of Damascus, Rabbi Hamra, that convinced me that the life didn't stop. You should build a new family, new life. You should tell everybody your story to everybody to know what happened with you. I married again, and in 1986 I came with the passport here to visit my parents, that they live here for many, many years, from 1972. They didn't let my wife and I had a child, I left the child, my wife and a girl, baby girl 2 months old. I didn't see my wife and my child after 2 years. After 2 years, they let him go out. After they guaranteed that I didn't open my mouth, I didn't say anything, about what happened to me. I meet my wife in the airport. I want to hold my daughter. She told me, she called me uncle. She didn't know that I'm her father. That's what happened to me. And this is only one story, There is a 4,000 Jew in Syria. There is maybe 4,000 case, like my case. Maybe it's not big like my case, but they have the bad thing that what's happened to them. One day I believe it will happen to them.
Friend, Rabbi Ezra Levitan.
I'd like to begin by noting a few words to Victor. Simply say that, as a student of history, I read a lot about persecutions of the Jewish people, persecutions of the world, but you've experienced the evil firsthand. And you're a man of great courage, a man of great strength, to be able to come and face this entire audience in order for the sole purpose of helping to root out that evil in the world. That is our foremost commandment. To attempt to root out the evil of the world is that which we should all be striving for. And Victor, you certainly made a very profound mark on myself, and I'm sure of everybody here, to try and do something about the evil of the world, and for that, I thank you. I think that this is a great day in the history of our congregational life. Not only because it's the final program that we've run, a history of many, many great programs, and not only because we commemorate the 500th anniversary of the expulsion of the Jews from Spain, but also because it's a great pleasure for me to welcome a man as Governor Florio, a man who's very clearly sensitive to the lessons of history. Governor Florio understands that that fateful day of March 31st, 1492, redirected the entire course of the history of the Western world. It changed the fortunes of Spain, wherein it began its decline as a world power. But certainly for us as Jews, the event was of horrifying proportions. 100,000 Jews were sent out to an exile of an unknown future. 100,000 Jews were given the choice to either convert to Christianity or to lose their lives. Many tens of thousands of Jews were killed in the pogroms and the riots, inspired by Christian fanaticism. they were either killed or converted to Christianity. The Spanish Inquisition, as the governor mentioned, was founded in 1478 as a prelude to the Spanish expulsion. They were responsible over the course of the next 2 centuries of burning at the stake 40,000 Jews and torturing 300,000 Jews to confess to their crimes of being a Jew. Yes, it's true that the decree to expel the Jews from Spain directly led to the downfall of the Spanish Empire. But more important to us, as Jews, as human beings, it was the cruelest, most evil event in the history of Spain. For the Jews, it was the most tragic event in the last 2,000 years, second perhaps only to the Holocaust. We gather here this evening not only to commemorate the event, but also to mourn those Jews who lost their lives or forced to convert to Christianity in that period of time. All this occurred as a result of that one fateful day wherein King Ferdinand, Queen Isabella, spurred on by the Jewishly blooded Torquemada, forced to expel the Jews or convert the Jews of Spain. We appreciate the governor coming here this evening to commemorate and to mourn with us this day in history. But the governor also knows it's not enough to commemorate and to mourn. As a student of history, he understands that history imposes upon us a certain kind of obligation to make sure that the events of evil do not recur. We study history to make sure that no further attacks on the human dignity of the human being can occur. No further attacks on the divine spark present in every human being can happen. History imposes upon us and upon every single person the obligation of trying to tear down tyranny from victimizing any other human beings. Because we understand the lessons of history, we dare not stand silent. We dare not remain inactive. Today as well, I am very pleased and very happy and very proud that the governor as well has signed in this proclamation the promise that he will act to try to free those 4,000 Jews imprisoned in Syria. As Victor had described so clearly and so well, they are the victims of torture, arrest, and even murder. I pray that this evening motivates all of us to do all that we can to free those 4,000 Jews. Now, the moment is critical. President Assad presents himself to the world as a humanitarian, as a kind-hearted soul, as somebody who's a Western-type leader. Well, we ask him to prove to us that he is a humanitarian, that he is a kind-hearted spirit, and that he will free the Jews of Spain as a demonstration of his great humanitarian spirit. We pray that you, Governor Florio, will take this message of human freedom and human dignity to the other governors of our nation. We pray that you present this very same message to President Bush, that he, as a leader of the free world, as a man who believes in human dignity and human freedom, that he will press President Assad with this very same message of freeing these Jews. We thank you, Governor Florio.
Coffee and dessert downstairs, which you are all invited to. And please allow the governor and Mrs. Florio and Congressman Colon to please leave first. Thank you all for coming. Please stay for coffee. Thank you again, Governor.
Thank you very much.
Eddie,
Very confident. You were very good.
going out with a bang.
Sema.
Just want to say on behalf of the congregation that this was indeed a momentous evening at the congregation Mag and David of Westfield and Hill Road in Ocean Township, New Jersey. We had the distinguished governor of the state signing a proclamation commemorating and memorializing the 500th anniversary of the horrendous Spanish Inquisition. We all want to remember that when we don't remember, we will be condemned to repeat. So we should remember, and we should always know what happened, whether it was the Spanish Inquisition, the Holocaust in Germany, or any other evil that is perpetrated on humankind. These are the things that we should remember and never forget. Thank you.
No, Richard. That's not this. Don't do that. Richard, did you get a close up?
Good. Oh, Rich, you got me. Okay.
Wednesday, yes, I know. I was here yesterday.
Yeah, the lady.
I would like to congratulate Jerry Bamira for making our shul a much to a higher level.
I couldn't do without friends and a leader like Rabbi Weinstein.
Classic in your own time.
Deborah.
Honey! Hey!
Thank you, Rich. Elliot.
Pen out, Elliot. Try a pen.
Okay, take it easy.
Ma?
Last shot to the old place. Last shot to the old place. Shalom Berova. Boy. I love my singing. The future of us is
Sammy and Lois, and we don't know, he or she, and baby son. What's the name of the boy? What's the name of the girl? Oh,
2 days in a row now, and it's going to be a house.
she's becoming a Hasidah. She's becoming a Hasidah.
Yes.
What are we gonna do?
Nathan Zolta.
I got a picture. I took the name. I told
And now a word. Sonia, please speak.
And then, as we have the final ceremony in this Westfield Synagogue, the final ceremony, it's on.
Oh, hi, Mr. Shammer. Hold on.
I want to say something to David Abadi. He gave me a wonderful weekend at Swanee River.
Where was that camera then?
Is that what you want? Some of these before. I think we should do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that he should work on releasing the 4,000.
Do the floor.
No, don't do that, Richie.
It's a very sad time for me. All my books are gone. My papers are all
And
over
he has
the
to
place.
find out where to put his papers. He has a very big problem, the rabbi.
Very big problem.
Let me get the floor,
No, get the rabbi.
and then the rabbi.
It's the last time it's going to be on tape, this room. And maybe you can do it upstairs at the other rooms. Do
Yeah,
that.
what did you say? Goodbye to all of us.
Goodbye, for all the memories,
Okay, goodbye.
and Ella.
Get Maurice in there.
Maurice.
Jerry,
you got their car? It's not coming till 10 o'clock. I can't get in touch with him. I won't be here.
Okay, Richie, now this is Wait 1 second. I have to get this.
The rabbi had him upstairs.
The koshergram and the Russian resettlement.
Rabbi, the mezuzot, you're going to put them in the new shul, or you're going to save them, you're going to give them away?
Now we will go upstairs to the lot 36, lot 72. Joy?
Yes, it's very good. Baruch Hashem.
Yeah!
Taking pictures.
Joy?
I stay here long enough, I'm gonna eat more. I wanna get out of here.
Tell us, May.